Hi guys, this is Nathara at CrowSong Lodge, and this is our tarot video for the week. So today I wanted to start out with something really simple and basic that has kind of been included in other videos here and there, but hasn't been addressed head on and specifically. And that is simply, what is the difference between an oracle deck and a tarot deck? And this is a question that I hear a lot, and people will, the answers are like all over the place, and some of them are really good and some of them are really bad, and they're pretty much irrelevant to this video, and I'm not sure why I mentioned it, but I see the question asked a lot, and so I wanted to address it. So in our tarot decks, back it up. Oracle decks are a deck used to access a deck of cards, used to access information that you normally would not have access to otherwise. Okay? That's it. It could be information about relationships, it could be psychic information, it could be past life information, it could be information about the future, it could be information about the present that is currently hidden from you for whatever reason. It is simply a vehicle to access information that would not otherwise be available to you. Okay? And really they're just a tool for you to communicate with your own intuition. They make life easier, which is why we have tools in the first place. Okay? That is it. Now a tarot deck is a specific kind of oracle deck. Okay? It would be false to say that tarot decks came before oracle decks. The word tarot in regards to a deck did come around before we overall classified oracle decks as oracle decks, but what we know now as oracle decks were around before tarot decks, because that's how evolution works. So tarot decks are a specific kind of oracle deck, and they are differentiated from other oracle decks by their structure. That structure is relatively standard throughout all tarot decks. They have 78 cards. Now, there are decks, few and far between, and I mean like a handful out of thousands, that have 79 or 80 or 76 cards. But 99% of the time, they're going to have 78 cards. There's a very specific structure for what these cards are. Those cards are grouped into the minor arcana and the major arcana. There are 22 cards in the major arcana, and they are numbered from 0 to 21. In the minor arcana, there are 56 cards. They are split into 4 different suits, and those suits each have 14 cards each. Okay? Those cards in each suit are numbered ace through king. Okay? Now sometimes the terms are different. Sometimes the ace is called 1. Sometimes the king is called something else, like a god or something like that. But that's the general structure. The suits in a tarot deck are, they're very similar to the suits in a playing card deck. That's what most people are more familiar with. They represent the elements of air, earth, water, and fire. And your standard suits are going to be wands, pentacles, cups, and the other one, swords. The one I always forget. But sometimes these suits have alternate names. Sometimes cups are called chalices or bowls. Sometimes swords are called, I don't know what else they're called, knives, or sometimes they're called blades. Sometimes the wands are rods or stabs instead, and sometimes the pentacles are coins or clubs, or discs. Discs is common too. But generally those are your bases. In playing cards, we know them as clubs, diamonds, hearts, and the other one, spades. See, same suit, I just forgot it again. Anyways, that's the basic structure. All right, so There are some variations, some decks call things different things, but that's your basic structure of a tarot deck. There are a very few majors only decks where they only have the cards 0 to 21, and those cards are all very specific cards as well. Like the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, what's number 3? I forgot number 3. It's like the Emperor, then the Empress, or vice versa, one of those. Anyway, they're all assigned numbers, and they're all a very specific set, 0 to 21, and they're all pretty much the same. Some of them have a variation on a name, like sometimes the Magician is called the Magus instead, but it's all vaguely the same. So sometimes there are majors only decks, and they'll have 0 to 21, so those 22 cards in it, and there are minor only decks which do not include the major arcana but only have the minor arcana, which are the 4 suits that are ace to king or ace to 14, and those are out there as well, but that's the basic structure of a tarot deck. Now, non-tarot oracle decks have no rules. I mean, they should probably have more than one card. I mean, that's probably a good rule, like probably more than 3, so you can get a good shuffle on. But other than that, there are no rules. So the one that's just sitting on my deck here is the medicine card deck. And these have numbers on them, but they don't have to have numbers. Numbers are really convenient because it makes looking them up in the book a lot easier, but they're not necessary, and some of them don't have it. Some of them don't have books, and that's fine too. These ones have animals on every card. And this particular deck is a kind of a fun example because it currently has 52 cards in it, like a playing deck, but the original edition of it, which is a deck I also have, only had 48 in it. So when they released the second edition, they added new cards to it. So there's no specific number of cards that an oracle deck needs to have. It doesn't need to have an even number of cards. It doesn't need to have an odd number of cards. It's really nice when the backs are symmetrical, upside down and right side up, but that's not required either because not all decks have reversed meanings and upright meanings. Some of them only have upright meanings. And there are some decks that are intended to be read entirely reversed. Reverse just means upside down. But there are other decks like this Rebel deck here, which has text on both sides of the cards. So it doesn't have this convenient, like, what is this card? We have no idea what it is kind of thing going on. It actually has text on both sides of the cards, and all the text is unique to each card. So there is no real front and back to the card, and you can use it just the same. So there are no rules when it comes to tarot, oracle decks rather. They can have any structure that you can imagine or none at all. They can just be a string of cards. And like you can see, these ones aren't numbered. They don't come with a book. You don't have to look up the meanings, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Okay? So oracle decks can just be all over the map. They can be based on traditional structures. I have an oracle deck that is based entirely on the Viking or Futhark rune system. And so instead of using tile runes, you actually would draw cards and they would have the runes on them instead. I have I Ching cards that have the I Ching system of lines and broken lines on each cards, and instead of throwing the tiles, you draw a card to see what your reading is going to be. So they can have any structure or no structure. They can be free form. They can be made up completely by their author, or they can be based on a traditional system. They can be adaptive or non-adaptive, original or not. There are no rules, except that they should have cards. That's the only one we're sticking to. So I hope this helps some folks out there understand the difference between a tarot deck and an oracle deck. And if it doesn't, please let me know, and I will try to fix this. And if you have any questions, as always, just leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear what your favorite oracle decks versus tarot decks are, because there's people who watch these videos and they're looking for suggestions and they don't know where to start. So share your favorites below, and let's let's fill up our wish lists, guys. I have a little bit of a problem. So if you like this video, do the liking and the subscribing because it tells me what you guys want to watch and it helps me out on the YouTubes. And I will talk to you later with another video.